Oh yes, this is it, big test, the big test. Chain, look, there's only a bloody chain on it. I can trust it up and down the road now. Well, I'm not a very happy bunny. I've fired her up again today and we're still losing a lot of coolant. A lot of coolant was being forced out of my reservoir. Lost about a litre from a run from just a warm up today and a quick blast up and down the road. So I think the head gasket's gone. I think that's why it boiled over initially at 100 degrees when it just had water in there, when it shouldn't have done in a pressurised system. And this Evans coolant runs under zero pressure. You can fully run the bike hot without even a radiator cap on. So it shouldn't pressurise at all and force fluid down to the reservoir bottle. So I've got a friend who's very kindly lending me a head gasket testing kit. It's like you add something to your coolant and then you have to put some special goggles on, run the bike up, and then look for like hydrocarbons in the oil or in the coolant. Not sure yet, and that will tell you if the head gasket's gone. You know, several ways the head gasket can go, so it can be difficult to diagnose. But I just want to, hopefully I'll get a clear indication that it's definitely gone, and then I can just get on with what's got to be done, which is take the bloody engine out again. No! Devastating. Well, it's all been going far too well, hasn't it? It's about time we had a major crisis. So he's coming around in a minute with the kit, and then I'm going to give it a whirl. Okay, moment of truth. I'm all rigged to do some more testing now to try and see if my head gasket has failed. Looks like some sort of mad science experiment is going on here. But that's the flow, that's the overflow to the reservoir bottle, that takeoff. So I've disconnected the reservoir so I can measure how much fluid is being forced out of the radiator once we're up and running, and then if it has gone down I can put it back in and see the difference. See if anything has been lost anywhere else apart from out of that pipe. I've made a check of how much oil's on the site level, so I know exactly where it is. So if that goes up, then I know the coolant's going into the oil. Evans coolants have been very, very helpful. I sent them an email and they've confirmed that if the Evans coolant mixes with your oil, it won't emulsify like water does. You know, it gets that frothy white cream-like substance in your engine. It won't do that. It will sort of mix. But if you drain some out and let it stand, it will separate again. So I can drain a bit of the oil off afterwards, put it in the jam jar and see if there's any separation. A buddy of mine has also lent me some UV testing fluid. So you add this into your coolant, a couple of drops of it. So you pour that in, you can check for any leaks then. If that goes into the oil, it should also show up in the oil. Basically what you have to do is you have to wear these smashing glasses and use an infrared torch. Here it is, like looking for a murder scene. There's been a murder. So you use that, you shine it with the goggles on, and you should see some fluorescent type residue in the oil. And also you can check externally whether there's anything leaking, but you know, God, you can tell that I think I'd know if there was something leaking around the outside. But it may be useful. I'll look around with that. So, you know what, I was just about to do this head gasket test, but something's just arrived in the post, which is even more important to knowing whether my head gasket's gone. I can't believe it's turned up. I have just opened this here package, and what I have in here, ladies and gentlemen, is an RCV MotoGP bike front mudguard. Carbon Kevlar. Look at that, how cool is that? And do you know, this is off, well, look inside and it says on it, Marquez Test 1. Written on the inside. Now, if that's not cool, I don't know what is. That was going on to Marquez's RCV test bike. And now it's going on to my little broken project. Pretty cool, huh? I'm actually in negotiations for getting the whole RCV fairing for the bike, just to finish it off. Not carbon Kevlar, because I think that'd be a bit too expensive, but fiberglass perhaps. So I don't know anyone else who has genuine Honda MotoGP bodywork on their motorcycles. So yeah, Marquez test 1. Check out eBay auction. Only joking. Well, the thermostat is at 73. Radiator's stone cold, and already we're getting a bit of coolant dripping out, and I'm losing all of my bloody fluorescent stuff as well. That's all coming out because it's at the top of the radiator. So I think I'm gonna have to put some more in when the thermostat goes, so it can go round, because I think it's pushing it all out because it's right at the top. So it's just come off choke, and already we're getting water coming out. The rad's stone cold, nothing in it yet. It's stopped dripping now the thermostat is opened. Obviously the water which is in here has been taken through into the engine now. I'm going to just pop the cap and see what the situation is with levels. Good thing about this Evans coolant, you can run it with the cap completely off because it doesn't run under any pressure at all. He says that it spills everywhere. So it's up to the top. No, it's not going up anymore. You can see that luminous dye stuff at the top there, can't you? Yeah, the rad's warm now. Not massively warm, just hot bath temperature. So the question is, why is this fluid expanding? You know, why is it doing this? The only reason can be is there's pressure coming into it via the head gasket, forcing into it from the head gasket, because the head gasket might have blown and it's pressurizing the cooling system and forcing out the coolant. Just had a thought, I haven't actually revved the bike properly, so I've never had the water pump fully spinning to maybe drive out all the air. And I've just I've collected that much now. It's been filling slowly, but it's sort of reached a point now whereby it's not coming out, and that could be of course because we've lost too much coolant now, of course. But yeah, when I did rev it earlier, a lot of air came out, you know, because obviously if you're just idling it, the water pump's not going around particularly fast, and maybe it can't drive out any air which is sat in these hoses and stuff. So I've just, I can hear the lynching mob warming their torches, so they'll be here in a minute if I rev it anymore, but I don't know. I think what I'm going to have to do, we do the test and we'll see if there's any of that fluorescent stuff in the oil, and I might have to get one of the exhaust gas testers to go on there just to see if there's any exhaust gases within the fluid. If there's no exhaust gases in the fluid and there's nothing in the oil, I think we may be okay. Who knows? I think I've had a brainwave. I've just fired it up again and it's lost, well, that's how much coolant it's lost again. Even though the radiator was only half full to start with before I started, it's managed to lose that much coolant, you know, 200 millilitres, let's say. I think the issue is this radiator is too small for the flow of that coolant pump. So it's pumping water in to the coolant into the radiator fast, and basically it just cannot expel the coolant from the radiator quick enough, because it's, I mean, the proper radiator for the RR4 engine is twice as big as this. So this radiator cannot expel the coolant quick enough. Because if I start the bike, the coolant shoots right to the top again after a second or so of running, and then it just starts going down the overflow because it just can't. And as soon as I turn it off, it bubbles down to about here again, because it just can't shift the water through the radiator quick enough. So I think I need an RR4 radiator, the full size, the radiator which is designed for the cooling system for this engine. I'm running, you know, the water pump on this engine is too powerful for this radiator. It's just can't flow it. Plus, this is an old rad. It could be this has got some blockages in it, but I think I need to get an RR4 radiator on here, and I think that will sort the issue. So I think that is the reason for it. Because as soon as I start the bike, it fills up to the top. As soon as I turn the bike off, bubbles down again. You know, and obviously if it can't flow it, it's just going to keep pumping it in, and it's just going to, only place it can go is out the overflow. So some clever people design these cooling systems. You can't just come in and mess about and half the size of the radiator and expect there not to be consequences. I think this is a consequence of my ignorance. So I think it's an RR4 radiator time. So anyone want a nice RRW radiator? One careful owner.